The suspect is 25-year-old Zachary Newell.
He planned to shoot up a preschool, injuring or killing at least 20 black children. According to the FBI, 25-year-old Zachary Newell on August 26th and 27th posted racist, violent comments on YouTube. On the 31st, Google reported that to the FBI, and then later that day, deputies in Carteret County confronted Newell, and he then posted bond and was released.
Well, hello, Venters. I hope you're having a happy Wednesday, middle of the week. It's Tuesday for me. It's the power of, recorded videos. Guys, today I want to share the story that's coming out of Newport, North Carolina, Carteret County. This is 25-year-old Zachary Newell. He's one of these guys that likes to go on YouTube and then attack people in the comment sections. Well, on August 26th and 27th, he went way too far. He actually promised to attack a predominantly black preschool, and he said his goal was to injure or eliminate 20 black preschool kids. In other words, toddlers and babies. And here's the thing. I don't like criminals, period. I want this guy out of here, and I want him gone for a long time. Now, technically, did he do anything other than type stuff on a keyboard? No, but at the same time, you never know if people are being honest, and if somebody tells you that they're capable of violence, you should believe them.
According to the FBI, 25-year-old Zachary Newell on August 26th and 27th posted racist, violent comments on YouTube, including one where he said he planned to shoot up a preschool, injuring or killing at least 20 black children. On the 31st, Google reported that to the FBI, and then later that day, deputies in Carteret County confronted Newell, and they say at that point he admitted to making that comment.
For whatever reason, he was given a bond that he was able to pay, and he was released. Shortly after being released, the FBI arrested him again, and they charged him with federal charges. So I'm assuming they probably charged him with some sort of terrorism or some sort of hate crime. And again, I don't know how the state judges can validate letting this guy out, knowing that there's a chance that he could have went right through with his plan.
They executed a search warrant and took him into custody, charging him with a state charge of communicating threats of mass violence to an educational facility. He then posted bond and was released. Later that night, the FBI took Newell back into custody, and now he's facing a federal charge. If convicted, he could face up to 5 years in federal prison.
Now, I know he probably had counsel, and you guys all know his counsel probably talked the judge into believing that it was all talk. He was just being a keyboard warrior, and he was technically lying. But here's the thing. How do we know that? There's a lot of these whack jobs that when they do end up hurting somebody or shooting up a school, a lot of times you end up finding out that they keep a journal, they keep a diary, they've got a manifesto, they've got a network of other people that know about their plans. Wouldn't it be a shame if he would have actually followed through with some of his threats? So here's my question to you, Venters. Is 5 years adequate? I mean, here's a guy that had plans to shoot up or drive his vehicle into a preschool, whatever he planned on doing. Do you think 5 years kind of validates the threat, or do you think he should possibly go away for longer or shorter? Let me know down below. So this was a situation where when they filed state charges, he was able to make bond and go right back into the community. Do you think they ought to try to federalize some additional crimes so that in the future, whenever we have judges that let out criminals, maybe we'll have some sort of backstop, some sort of firewall that keeps us protected on a federal level? Let me know your thoughts down below. Carla, you know what I think? I think if somebody texts you and lets you know that they have intentions to do bad things, and then they end up doing it, I think they should hold you responsible because you didn't go to the authorities and let them know what was up. It seems like 90% of the time that there's some sort of school shooting or some sort of act of terror, it seems like there's always a handful of people that actually knew about it in advance. My thinking is, if you know about something like this and you don't go to the feds or you don't go to law enforcement, you should get in trouble. And if that started happening, then pretty soon you might have some of these situations get thwarted instead of them being successful. Here's what I'd like to know. Was this guy for real? It's really easy to go in front of the judge and say, oh, I was just talking shit, right? But I'd like to know, does this guy keep a diary? Does this guy have any messages on his cell phone to friends where he's made threats like this before? Is this the type of guy that out in rural North Carolina likes to go out at 1 or 2 in the morning, searching for black folks to beat up? That's what I'd like to know. Now, if there's a situation where they do investigate and they finally realize that, hey, this was just a guy that was talking trash, then maybe that 5-year sentence sounds okay. But again, if this guy's actually halfway serious, then I think he needs a much bigger penalty than just up to 5 years. Would you guys believe it if I told you? I see more people riding these electric bikes and electric scooters than actual real bikes and real scooters. So back in the day, if you went out for a bike ride to your neighbors or to your friends, you almost couldn't avoid getting a little exercise in. But one of the things that's kind of bad about these electric scooters is they're making it where kids that should be exercising more are actually exercising less. Now, do I blame them? When we would push our scooters down the road, right, we probably go 3, 4, 5 miles per hour, whereas a guy on an electric scooter is probably going 15 miles an hour or faster. So I can't say I blame them, but I'm just saying the side effect is going to be, we're already chunky monkeys now. Can you imagine when we get older? Oh my goodness. Everyone's going to be a tub of lard. I remember growing up, people would say, I can just look at a jelly donut and I'll gain weight. And I always used to think, yeah, whatever. But it really is true. Ever since my surgery, I feel like I can just look at a bowl of Captain Crunch cereal and I start gaining weight, especially as I hit on to bowl number 3. The Shaw Brothers 3941 says he should be charged with a hate crime. I have a feeling he was, because if they're charging him with something on a federal level, there's really only 2 things it could be, right? Either a hate crime or an act of alleged terrorism or potential terrorism. I have a feeling it's something like that. I have a feeling he's in a lot of trouble. Bad Bunny OK says, big tough guy going after preschoolers. Definition of a coward. I would totally agree with that. That's the problem with bad guys. They tend to seek out the perfect victims, don't they? They're always victims that don't have the ability to fight back. Even if they can fight back, they can't because maybe the bad guy's got a weapon on them, right? And it's one of those situations where these people are so inherently evil, I just don't think we should have them in society anymore. And I'm telling you, if we ever as a country came together and said, no more second chances for these heinous criminals, life would be so much better. Could you imagine if we did grow up in a world, guys, where you never had to worry about your neighbors, your friends, or strangers ever attacking you? Could you imagine if we made it where it was so rare that it was, it had to make the news when it happened? Just like when you occasionally see a lab, right? You got a yellow lab, the nicest dogs in the world, and occasionally you'll hear a story about a yellow lab going bad and biting people. When that happens, it makes the news. Why? Dog attacks don't always make the news, and we know pit bulls attack people all the time. Labs don't. So whenever labs do anything, it makes the news. Could you imagine if we got to the point where all human beings were like yellow labs, where it was just really bizarre for us to do these horrible things to one another. Well, I believe we could do that. And the way we do that is we get every murderer out of our lives forever. No second chances. You wouldn't have serial killers. They would get caught quickly. I just think it's something that we owe to ourselves. And I would honestly like to know what it would be like to live and grow up in a world where there was no unaliving. Does anybody believe that we could make ourselves the yellow labs of people? I think we really can. I know it sounds bizarre, but you know what I mean. You look at a yellow lab walking down the street, nobody's afraid of it. Why? Because it's famous for being just mellow and a relaxing dog. They put yellow labs in with cheetahs because cheetahs have, depressed anxiety. But they put them in with yellow labs and they find that it just makes them happier. By the way, a lot of times if I want to relax, I'll look at cheetah videos. Did you know that even in the wild, they don't really attack humans? They'll sometimes come up and start purring right next to you. It's crazy. You got to check out those cheetah videos, I'm telling you. Joe J. Joe says 25. He looks 55. I think it's something with the younger people nowadays. I think they grow up with such stresses in their life that they all look 30 years older. And this has happened before. If you look at teenagers in the 1970s, those people look like they're 40 years old too. I think it just goes back and forth depending on hairstyles. Whenever you have people with long hair, they always tend to look older. Staywell says he needs to be in jail for life. See, I agree with you there. 5 years, that sounds like a long time for just writing some evil comments in YouTube. But again, what if it's more than that? What if this guy really does plan on doing horrible things with his life? Maybe he doesn't deserve to be out at all. This is why I tell you guys, even when people take plea deals and all of a sudden they, instead of doing life or 25 years for murder, all of a sudden they get this little chintzy 8-year deal, that makes a mockery of life. It really does. My biggest fear in life would be to see a Chihuahua that is the size of a Great Dane. Oh my God, the Chihuahuas are the most vicious animals. Sting says, white fatigue, y'all hold on tight. Sting, you know how occasionally you'll see somebody and they say, hey, I'm black and I suffer from black fatigue? Well, I'm white. I consider myself to suffer from that type of fatigue too when it deals with criminals. I don't consider myself to have white fatigue in general, just when it deals with criminals. And that's honestly, I think, how everybody feels. I've heard it said before that it's not black fatigue, it's ghetto fatigue. Some people just don't like seeing that out in public. And I told you guys yesterday, I'm damn near 50 years old. I've never seen any of these crash outs in public in my life. I just really haven't. Sometimes I wonder, guys, is there a chance that half of these videos we're seeing are actually concocted? Is there a chance that they're fake? The reason I say that is look how much money's involved if a video goes viral. I mean, how easy would it be to give Tyrone $50 and say, start a bunch of shit in this McDonald's, and whatever money I make, I'll split it with you? I could totally see people doing that. And that's probably the biggest danger of platforms like TikTok and YouTube. Oh, by the way, I heard TikTok got a US buyer. I think it's going to be running through Oracle, but I think it's going to involve us downloading a different app. And I think that's going to upset people because all of a sudden, it's not going to feel like TikTok anymore. Black Eric Denise says, they know if he had hurt black kids in a daycare, black people would have tore that town up. I think you're definitely right there. Here's the thing that upsets me. Whenever anybody gets unalived, and whenever there's a bad part of town where unalivings happen regularly, how come people don't get up in arms for all of that? It shouldn't matter who the victim is. We should all band together on the side of the victims. And that's the thing. If we ever stood up as good people of the world and said enough is enough, we're not going to live with these animals anymore, we can make the world better. And again, the animals are not any particular people other than the criminals. We got to get rid of the criminal element if we ever want life to be decent. User GY6L6TU9 says, always those demons, those white devils. Just remember, the country's like 60% white. That means that there's literally hundreds of millions of white folks here. With that many people, you're gonna mathematically always find a couple white devils. Just keep in mind, it's the minority, it's not the majority. Renee C says, our daycare needs to hire security. Okay, Renee, this goes back to what I said yesterday. If you know that a Walmart gets stolen from every single day, why not just have a cop permanently there? If you know that a daycare has these threats, why not have armed security there every day? So I totally agree with your idea. And if it creates a job, isn't that a good thing in a world where no one has a job? Trigger Mike says, stay armed and ready, my brothers and sisters. I think he was talking about white fatigue there. Stay armed, brothers and sisters. You know what? Let's all get armed. Because if we truly are what we say we are, which is decent, law-abiding citizens, then let's all get armed. Because one thing is for sure, the bad guys, the criminals, both white and black, they're already armed. They've got us outgunned. Why don't we all get armed so that we can actually take care of ourselves? Because some of these judges aren't really protecting the community. With that being said, one of the best ways you can protect your future is to walk every day, silly. Make sure you hit the like button, hype this video if you don't mind, and I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you come back.